Hello again and welcome to another edition of Suds and Country Video. Hi, I'm Herb Sudson. On tonight's show I have the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Don't believe it myself.
Hi,
How you doing, guys?
Good, man. How
to
you
the
doing?
show.
Thank you.
Jim,
Hi, Herb.
Robin.
Good to see you.
Jimmy down there. All right. We're going to be talking about the Circle 2 album, which has been out since last May and is quite talked about in the industry. How'd you guys pick the entertainers to be on the Circle 2 album? You have a slew of entertainers, and the names are here. And how'd you pick it up, Jeff?
We just picked up this album cover and we called them all up. What do you think?
Yeah, no. I'll bite for that. How'd you guys pick the majority of entertainers?
These were people mostly that we had played music with over the years. We got together in a room with Randy Scruggs, who co-produced the album with us, and Chuck Morris, who's our manager, and we came up with a list. And these were pretty much the folks that we all agreed on.
Okay.
They're kind of like people who have always been heroes to us. We kind of think that they're really influential in contemporary country music, and some cases folk music, and in some cases rock and roll. There's some people who, like Bruce Hornsby, who aren't really country musicians. And John Hyatt, who's really kind of a writer for everybody. He's Rolling Stone's top male vocalist. Were
you looking for any individuals in particular now there's some names here that were on the Circle 1 album, which is here also. Now, were you looking for any comparisons?
Well, we were looking for a degree of continuity in the style, as far as the album being all acoustic and live, and having an acoustic core band. Like on the first album, we had Junior Husky playing bass, and Norman Blake played mandolin, and Earl Scruggs played five-string banjo. On this album, we had Randy Scruggs playing with us on acoustic. Jerry Douglas, great dobro player, played with us on all the cuts. Mark O'Connor on fiddle, and Junior Husky's son, Roy Husky, played upright bass with us. So we were looking for something that felt informal, but that was good. Good music, you know.
I have some press release here. It says, since the release of their landmark LP, Will the Circle Be Unbroken, Volume 2 in early May, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band has received immediate and resounding critical acclaim. Is this all true? And overwhelming popular acceptance for their efforts.
I think the critical part's true.
Yeah, the critical part's
true.
It says a top 5 berth in the Billboard Country Album charts, the band's first top 5 in 23 years of recording.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
What's interesting, I think, is that the music was all cut live. You know, most country music today, and probably pop music too, although I'm only guessing about that, the guys go in and they cut it in pieces, where you cut an instrumental track, and then the singer goes in and takes a few passes at it, and then a couple days later the background singers come in, and then maybe a month later you sit down and you start mixing it, and you say, boy, a little B3 organ would sound real good in this. How about some steel guitar? But this was a bunch of musicians sitting in one room and recording live music.
How many musicians came in at one time to do these?
We had 12 or 13 at some points.
Yeah.
To be the 4 of us, the core band that Jeff just mentioned.
We had the 3 Carter sisters and Johnny Cash, and
it was 8 people plus whoever the guest was that day. So usually it was between 9 and at the most up to, with the Newgrass Revival, I think we must have had about 14 or something. I mean, we had quite a few folks.
There's quite a few opinions too.
Yeah.
We were talking before the show. You went to the Soviet Union after the album came out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How did they accept the new album?
Well, they don't really have records. The record release system over there is totally different. It's mostly underground black market stuff. So they're not really familiar with this album over there.
If you're
there just to play our music.
If you're not on the Melodia label, which is the state label, you don't get your records released over there.
Were there people in the Soviet Union familiar with any of the selections on the album? Or any selections from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band?
Oh yeah. There were fans that came back from the first time we played there, and they obviously were aware of what we did. Plus there were a lot of people from the States that are stationed there in diplomatic capacity. And then there was a section of the audience I think knew about us from their friends.
Voice of America too.
Yeah, VOA.
And the black market, people can get records there. It's just that they got to pay outrageous prices for them and go to great lengths to get a hold of them.
Where'd you guys come up with the idea of the Circle 2 album?
It was my idea.
No,
actually, I thought it up. I thought it would be a good idea if we did a sequel to this first Circle.
I mentioned it to you in the car, though. First.
Actually, I brought it up quite a bit.
That was after we talked about it.
I brought it up, guys.
It's Herb's idea.
It was Herb's idea.
Now we can tell everybody it was Herb's idea. In fact, there was a lot of talk about calling it Suds and Country. Yeah.
Volume 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What made you guys in 1971 come up with Will the Circle Be Unbroken Volume 1? You guys were sort of pop in those days, weren't you?
Yeah, we were considered a country rock band, and they played our records on rock and roll radio.
How did you guys come up with Will the Circle Be Unbroken Volume 1? That was quite a landmark album in those days.
I think it started with the meeting we had with Earl Scruggs. Earl and his sons, Randy, Gary, and Steve, so Manny, Mo, and Jack, came to this concert that we did at Vanderbilt University in 1970, 71, around then. And it really turned out that Earl was a fan of the band, as were his kids. And we had, what started off as Earl Scruggs playing on one of our records, snowballed into this great big...
Hell of a snowball, Herb.
Quite a snowball, a 3-record snowball.
Yeah, well, it sort of, Earl knew everybody, and the music community in Nashville was and is still today, to some degree, very close-knit. And Earl, you know, for a Sunday afternoon dinner might have Chet Atkins sitting over here, or Roy Acuff down the way, and he started recommending people and sort of introducing us around. And the next thing we knew, we had this great lineup.
You did Circle 1 17 years ago. What has changed in the country music in 17 years?
Our place has certainly changed in country music in 17 years, because on the first record we were the outsiders. We were the long-haired hippies from California, and now thanks to our acceptance in country music, we're sort of established, and we were able to widen the circle with us being the kind of the normal ones, and the rockers like Bruce Hornsby being the weirdos.
Country music's become more broad-based too. You can hear more R&B influences in what's played on country radio now. Also, the first single from this Volume 2 album, the Bob Dylan tune "You Ain't Gone Nowhere," when that was first cut by Sweethearts on the Sweetheart of the Rodeo album, you know, years ago.
By the Byrds.
By the Byrds. They wouldn't play that on country radio, whereas it was just played on country radio. I think went to what, 6 or something like that.
A top 5 hit, I believe.
There's a lot of diversity in the airplay going on right now. They're playing people as far right or left of what the mean center line of traditional country could be. You've got the new traditionals.
Back in 71, you were more or less traditional on that album?
Well, you know, the interesting point about the album 71 is that the artists that took part in the album weren't being played on country radio. That was the era of the heyday, I guess, of Buck Owens, at the height of his popularity, and Bill Anderson, and Merle Haggard, and Lefty Frizzell, and there was a lot, it was more electric country music going on, and guys like Earl Scruggs.
Is that you?
Yeah. Guys like Earl Scruggs and Roy Acuff really hadn't been played a lot during that era, so we were getting a chance also to get in there and sort of acknowledge the contribution that these people had made. Mother Maybelle Carter, for instance, I don't think had made a record in a while.
I see the album is dedicated to...
Yeah, the new album is.
It says I'm on the record cover inside. What made them Nitty Gritty endure over the last 23 years? You've been...
It's still a lot of fun to do. It's fun to be on the road and play for people that enjoy listening to what we do.
Because the band's been able to make records about one a year for the last 23 years, so it helps as long as you're developing and playing and writing new music. It really helps your enthusiasm.
Aside from the 2 albums, Circle 1 and Circle 2, what were some of your big hits over the last 23 years? Well, in the last 17, between the 2 albums that kept the... You were talking about before the show, Long Hard Ride.
Oh yeah, as far as the country hits, certainly.
Country hits.
Well, we had a couple of pop hits at the tail end. After Mr. Bojangles, we had Make a Little Magic and An American Dream. And then when we made the switch over to country, first big one was Dance Little Jean. That was our first top 10 single. And then a bunch of Hard Road, I Love Only You, High Horse, Modern Day Romance,
Stand a Little
Driving My Life Away,
Driving My Life Away, On the Road
Always
Again.
and Forever.
I forgot about that.
The Gambler.
That was my idea.
That was one of the hits, huh?
I wrote that.
For the Circle 2 album, where'd you come up with the songs for the all these entertainers to sing?
Well, the majority of the artists that took part in the album were songwriters, and they brought a lot of their stuff in. Like John Prine brought Grandpa Was a Carpenter in, and John Hyatt wrote a song for the album. That was basically where they came from. We wrote a few tunes. Jimmy wrote the next single, When It's Gone. That'll be coming out. Matter of fact.
Jimmy wrote a tune, Jeff and Bob wrote a tune.
In fact, the song of mine that we recorded with Paulette Carlson was she thought it was too sexist to record the way it was, and so we got in and rewrote it a couple days before, so she's now a co-writer on the song.
Well, it was sexist.
Well, I think sexism has its place.
On Circle 2, right?
But was it sexy? But was it sexy or was it sexist?
This is animal.
Say something good about Will the Circle Be Unbroken Volume 2, what your fans would appreciate hearing.
I think our fans will enjoy everything on it. It's got 20 songs, and this is, I think, rare in any album that they're all good. They're really...
I've heard they're good.
They're real good, and we enjoy listening to this album ourselves. What would you guys recommend?
What we like about the album is it's paid for.
It's paid for, that's true. I'm telling you, we started with the artwork and then just
like the cover.
backwards from there.
Yep.
What I want to do is thank the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band for being on the show tonight, and I appreciate it, and can't believe I'm sitting here with people that I play the music of for so long. Listen to their music. Thanks again, guys, for being on.
Thank you.
And thank you until next time.